So hi everybody. It just dawned on me as I was walking up and down the halls briefly how many new folks there are here. So this is really, it's very interesting to see all of you, and I hope to get to know you better as time moves on. It looks like next year, I was just telling Suzanne, our dog has died, so which means that my wife and I can travel together more. We had an aging dog who was, so now I can come out, spend more time here because she can come out with me. She got friends up and down the coast. So I'm hoping to spend a lot more time out here next year because next to my house in Cambridge, this is my favorite place to be. So about HTeCV, I guess I'll just go back to the beginning and talk a little bit about some of the ideas that motivated us in the very beginning. And then I want to jump to the opportunity we had to open HTeCV Elementary and what we thought about that, what we had in mind, and what our hopes were, and what I'm seeing now. And then I know that HTeCV Elementary and all of our elementary, just like our other raise persistent questions and dilemmas. And they're not necessarily problems that we solve, they're dilemmas that we live with. But I would love to hear in a Q&A kind of what some of those dilemmas are that you're facing, and maybe chime in on them myself. So I taught English and writing in particular at high school level for about 25 years in Cambridge, and became after a while the language arts coordinator K through 12 for Cambridge, Massachusetts public schools. So I was teaching the only public high school there, and I was teaching there for about 16, 17 years or so, when there was a faculty meeting of some kind, like a key results committee, and I met this guy who was teaching carpentry. I was on the 5th floor in kind of the hippy-dippy free school, freedom school, alternative school, and he was on the ground floor teaching carpentry. He had been in that building we had been in the same building for 7 years and never met. I mean, this was a faculty of 200 teachers and so on. So we never met, and there were the two cultures, the voc culture and the academic culture, and they were really very separate entities. And that was Larry Rosenstock. And so Larry was teaching carpentry with a law degree, and was asked around the time that I met him, to participate in a group at Harvard that was recrafting the language for vocational education across the country, for the Perkins money that would go out to all the states to be awarded to put new conditions on it. And the conditions were that we integrate vocational and academic pursuits. So no longer in voc ed could you do narrow skills training for jobs that are not going to exist in 5 years. And that students in voc needed to understand all aspects of the industry in which they were working. So if you were in carpentry, you needed to understand where 2x4s come from and why they're not really 2x4. They're 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And you had to understand how to cost what you do and how to run a business and things like that. So there's this whole school of work effort. Meanwhile, I was running a writing center in the high school, and it was peer tutoring, and we had all the kids did a really extensive outreach. We got kids from we had about 2,000 kids in the school. About 1,800 of them came through the writing center one time or another in the year, and most of the voc kids came in. I was fascinated by the work that they were doing, the writing they were doing. When I asked them, they were struggling to write books. They came up with the book reports they had to write. And book reports, as you know, they're an artifact of schooling that never appear anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. So they were struggling with those, and if I asked them how to write, how to design a circuit board, to write about that, they would write with some flow and authority. I was fascinated by that. And so when Larry and I met, I was thinking about that, and he was thinking about recrafting voc ed around voc academic integration, and we were saying, wow, what would it be like if we had some kids from the voc program and from the academic program working out in the community, in businesses and social service agencies and stuff like that, where there was a humanities course accompanying it, and where the text of that humanities course was their experience in the workplace. And they would access it through writing. They would investigate it, interrogate it, articulate it, and share it through writing. That would be their curriculum. So shortly after that, Larry became director of Voc Ed in Cambridge, and Polaroid Company called and said, we want to work with your kids, we want to do co-op. And Larry said, no, we'd love to work with you, but we're not doing co-op. And they said, what do you mean? He said, we'll do internships. I'll send a teacher over there to work with the kids for an hour and a half in humanities every day while they're working in your plumbing, electrical, and carpentry shops. And they said, okay. And Larry hung up, picked up the phone, called me, and said, we're in, because that's what we've been talking about. For me, that was the beginning of HTeC High, because it was our effort to figure out what would happen if we linked academics and reflection and writing with the hands-on work that kids were doing, and if we integrated kids. Because in this program we had kids from the academic side. We had kids who were AP teachers who were very upset with us because we were taking kids. There were kids from AP who wanted to be in this program, and there were kids from Voc Ed who wanted to be in this program. So we were integrating kids. And we were integrating the school with the world beyond school, and we were saying to ourselves, what would happen what if we had a chance to start a school where all the kids did internships? And by that we really meant, what if we were able to start a school where we could integrate students, because we had lived with the pernicious effects of separating students, tracking students for, in my case, for 25 years. So we knew that effect, and we knew that we wanted a school where we would not let that in. What if we integrated students? What if we integrated the subjects so that it's not kids go through several different stations a day with several different homeworks, accountable to several different individuals and so forth? What if we integrated the subjects and started thinking about organizing the curriculum around problems and questions as opposed to around subjects? Alfred North Whitehead in 1920 wrote in The Aims of Education, the Greeks in education their aim was to foster dispositions. In the 20th century, sadly, we have been teaching subjects. So we wanted to get away from that a little bit too. And then, of course, integrating school would go well. So, long story short, we attempted to move some of the stuff we were doing into the mainstream of the high school. Larry became acting principal for a while. We were soundly defeated by coalitions of teachers and parents, middle-class parents in particular, who were worried that if we mixed up the kids, that their kids would be damaged in some way, and so on. So we were defeated, but the feds put out a contract. They wanted somebody to find and work with 6 inner city schools around the country that were doing school to work, which we were doing, as a lever for whole school change, which we were failing to do. So we applied for it, until a lot of people surprised we got it, and we're off on this wonderful odyssey all around the country looking for such schools. We did not find a school that was doing everything that I'm talking about, but we found a piece here, a piece there, and so forth. And one of the schools we selected was in San Diego, Hoover High School. Hoover, because it was located in a very devastated neighborhood, but where kids were going to college and staying in college at a much greater rate than you would predict given their demographics. So we selected them, and that's how we got out here at a time when the Business Roundtable was saying, there's a cap on visas. These are the high-tech executives. Cap on visas. We can't hire Indian and Chinese technicians anymore. We have to do something locally. They decided to start a school. Larry was right on the scene and said, I think I know the kind of school you guys would like to start. And they said, and he walked into Gary Jacobs' office. Gary and Jerry Ann Jacobs, HTeC High, walked into Gary's office and said, what are the chances you guys are ever going to start this school? And Gary said, that's about 50-50. And Larry said, what if I told you I want to be the founding principal? And Gary said, it's 90-10. And they hired him right away to write the charter, find the site, hire the staff, recruit the kids, develop the curriculum, and so forth. And he got on the phone again, called up 4 or 5 people from Cambridge that we've been working and thinking about this kind of thing, and said, this is our chance to really do it. So that's how the school started. We knew that we wanted to have a school where all the kids did internships. So even before we had juniors, we built a schedule that would accommodate internships. We knew that we would be asking teachers that we hired to do project-based learning, and many of whom would never have experienced it themselves as learners. So we knew we needed a robust adult learning environment. So we created a schedule where teachers come to school, arrive at school an hour before the kids arrive every day. That was for the purpose of kind of generating the opportunity for adult dialogue about curriculum, about kids, and about issues that the school faces as we go along, partly because we wanted to be agile. We knew that we would make a lot of mistakes, and we wanted to be able to move quickly when we needed to. So we needed to have that kind of capacity to kind of move together and move quickly. So I hope I'm not going too slowly here, but I mean, it's a long story.